चलें हम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम we will move to the discussion और सबसे पहले before I move to Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life in Makkah topic which we were doing in the previous lecture class, I will move to the last test discussion briefly. I know that because I'm in the process of checking the answer. There are some very good answers, mashallah, because the topic is no doubt easy. But what I have noticed one thing, some students wrote the main theme and the importance of the theme in a routine way, in which Cambridge normally gives the students 2 out of 4 or maximum 3 out of 4. If you remember those students who attended my early classes, you can see I have showed you some points which needs to be considered whenever we are answering the questions of passages of Quran. I'm talking about question number 1, main theme and the importance of the theme. Suppose if we talk about our first passage, that was this one, maybe the numbering might be up and down there. But if you talk about one of the surahs which was provided was Surah Shura verses, and you can see the surah is here was expected in it. There are few key words which I personally suggest you people to add whenever you are answering the question of passages here. So using these words like God's control keyword is there instead of just paraphrasing and retranslating the same passage given there. So if someone is talking about God mightiness, like Allah's power, Allah's control, and then the angels' roles in making prayers for Allah, forgiveness of Allah, one of the attribute of God. If you use these words while answering that question, that will make your answer more stronger in it. Okay, this is something which I personally suggest the student to use these things. Of course, you will use a supporting reference to develop that point there. So that is the main expectation of the main theme of Surah Shura. And part B, of course, I have found some students repeated the same wording of part A in part B in the passages there. So if you talk about Surah Shura and you talked about God's control, you talked about God's attribute of forgiveness, you need to link it. How is it important in the daily life of the Muslims? Okay, for example, no one has power like God. So the people who are here in charge or in power and authority do not consider themselves that they are God, because there is no one is equal to Allah in his power and attributes. So the absolute power, the maximum power rests with Allah only. So such type of words can be helpful to develop your answer or to make it impressive for the examiner, and the examiner will give you more marks. Not to lose hope, connected with obedience to Allah, as the angels are obedience to Allah also. So we are going to take the lessons from the discussion of angels in that topic. That was about Surah Shura. When we talk about the next passage, which was there, that was about that is Surah, I think if I'm not wrong, that was Surah Baqarah passage, was about Allah and his relation with created world. If you look at that, the examiner has, like in the marking scheme, they have mentioned the first statement in your answer must be Allah and his relation with the created world. That has to be focused and discussed in it. This is first thing which I will be checking whenever I am checking, or any teacher who is checking your main themes. They will be looking at this first keyword in it. That is, what is the main theme there in all the passages. By the way, some students speak about a wording which is similar to it is acceptable, but it is good to write that beginning statement of your answer there. Then it's up to you if you want to say Surah Baqarah or not, or whatever you, it's up to you. Second thing which examiner is looking at these additional themes in the passage there, because when you look at that theme, mostly students restrict their answer to environment and all of these things. God's providing, like he, no doubt Allah has blessed us with rain, the water, the earth, the heavens, and all of these things. But it will be good to go with alternative or other themes in it. This is Tawheed to almost her passage mein hota hai, but you need to develop what type of Tawheed is explained in it. Is it talking about God as a creator, sustainer, or is it talking about God alone, free from any, we can say, son or daughter and all of these things? So you need to develop these points accordingly there. So this is how we are expecting in exams also. और अब इसी का part B जब develop करते हैं, जब आप नीचे जाते हैं, you can see there is a good development of the part B there. This part was done by many students well. I have found part B's of this part. Students developed it, they connected it with because they are practicing the theme based question, they are doing the part B questions there. तो वहां पे ही आपका आंसर majority student का better है. But mostly students restrict it again to environment. Don't restrict to environment. Again तौहीद आपने पढ़ा है तो avoid all forms of shirk. आप इसको लिंक कर सकते हैं रियल लाइफ से आजकल की, because we today do not associate partners with Allah generally the way the people of Makkah did. But we have some modern forms of shirk जो आप यहाँ पे add कर सकते हैं. What are the modern forms of shirk? For example, I found in one of the answers of a student, like believing in the horoscopes, for example, or some students mentioned about visiting the palmist and believing in whatever he's saying. So such, because the people are doing it because they think there is someone other than Allah who knows about our future. So that is also going to be a good example अगर आप यहाँ पे develop कर रहे होते हैं. बाकी natural resources की care करना, wastage of water resources, that is another good example, which is a perfect point which you can do that one. Third passage was also about Allah in himself, और ये हमारे पास passage था, I think that is one second, that was about third passage है जो भी है, but one of the passage which I gave you that was mentioned there in it. अब इसकी भी main theme आपको यहाँ पे एक suggested idea that is easier actually because it's mainly about Tawheed. So you can see God's control, power, authority, knowledge. We call it as Allah's omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Allah's attributes are going to be explained there in it. और फिर पार्ट बी भी आप, ये मैं आपको सिर्फ सजेशन के लिए आइडिया दे रहा हूँ कि आप इस तरह के कीवर्ड्स अगर अपने आंसर में यूज करते हैं तो योर मार्क्स इन एग्जाम्स इज श्योरली 7 आउट ऑफ 8 और 8 आउट ऑफ 8, क्योंकि जितनी ट्रांसक्रिप्ट्स अभी लास्ट ईयर की हमारे पास आई हैं उसमें स्टूडेंट्स मेनली फॉल फ्रॉम 5 to 6 आउट ऑफ 8 in total in question number 1. And those students who have used some keywords in their main themes, they got either 7 or even 8 out of 8 भी उनको मिले हुए हैं. मैं आपको कुछ इस तरह की ट्रांसक्रिप्ट इंशाल्लाह कमिंग क्लासेस में शेयर भी करूंगा. And I will even first ask you to grade that student. Either that student is getting 5 out of 8 or 8 out of 8. So you will decide that one, and then you will see how an 8 out of 8 answer. You are mostly able to get very easily 7 to 8 out of 8 if you're using, because you are lucky you have resources with you. Teachers के notes हैं, books के अंदर भी अच्छी development. That was one question. Question number 1. Question number 2 looked very easy, and there is no doubt it's one of the easiest question. I gave this question from May June 2024. Pakistani variant question था, और it's very likely this time कि either ways of revelation या collection and compilation of Quran का question आएगा. तो majority of the student understand the expectation of this question, और काफी students ने इस answer को बहुत अच्छा address किया. But if I talk about ER, examiner report की मैं बात करूँ इस साल की, तो examiner report mention कि many students managed to speak about Hazrat Abu Bakr's time period very well. पहले मैं आपको इसकी मार्किंग स्कीम एक दफ़ा क्विकली दिखा देता हूँ, which majority of the students जिनके मैंने आंसर चेक किए, they addressed it properly. लेकिन इसमें कंपटीशन हाई होता है. Leaving a single point sometimes affects your grades. आपको थोड़े से मार्क से ग्रेड कहीं से कहीं जा सकता है, थोड़ी सी मिस्टेक से. अगर आपका एक छोटा सा पॉइंट मिस हो गया, like for example someone did not talk about Battle of Yamama and death of Hufaz in it, so maybe you will be expecting 10 out of 10 in it and everything else is there, but that main point is missing there. तो हो सकता है आप 9 या 8 पे जा सकते हैं, depending on the examiner whoever is taking your paper. Sometimes ऐसा भी होता है कि एग्जामिनर से इस तरह की छोटी मिस्टेक माइनर सी कभी कभी ओवरलुक होती है, वैसे रेयर ऐसा होता है. ठीक है, तो अब यू मस्ट बी टॉकिंग अबाउट डेथ ऑफ हुफाज, यू मस्ट बी टॉकिंग अबाउट बैटल ऑफ यमामा. मैं आपको भी एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट दिखाऊंगा, आपको आइडिया भी हो जाएगा what is the significance of key words and key events plus key personalities plus references in it. So some students were asking when I was conducting the exam, how many references should we write in it? In this question, apparently there is no major reference, but there are 2-3 references which will make your answer stronger, by the way. You may reach level 3 highest, maybe sometimes level 4 without a reference. लेकिन अगर आप रेफरेंस लिखते हैं तो आपका मार्क 9 या 10 आउट ऑफ 10 भी जा सकता है. तो I normally don't give most students 10 out of 10, but maybe if I see an answer very outstanding covering all the key events properly meeting the Cambridge requirement, तो मैं उसमें 10 भी आपको दे सकता हूँ. अगर किसी को 9 भी मिले हुए, you can think you can get 10 in the same answer, by the way. लेकिन जहाँ कोई चीज़ मिस होती है मैं कोशिश करता हूँ उसको मार्क भी कर दूँ. अब आपने मेन एक्सपेक्टेशंस को मेक श्योर करना है. यू नीड टू मेक श्योर योर आंसर मस्ट बी टॉकिंग अबाउट डेथ ऑफ हुफाज इन इमामा, यू मस्ट बी टॉकिंग अबाउट हजरत Umar's concern. You are going to talk about Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar's debate and that discussion which went on. You can see here. And then Hazrat Abu Bakr's hesitation development is required there. Then Zaid bin Sabit, full name. Likhna. I have found some answers. Students just try to write Zaid. Fine, but it will be good to write full name because students were confused कि जैद बिन हारिस हैं या जैद बिन साबित हैं. तो गुड टू राइट फुल नेम. एक दफा लिख दें फिर बार बार रिपीट करना है कि आपको जरूरत नहीं है उसके अंदर. ठीक है. उसके बाद स्पीक ब्रीफली अबाउट जैद बिन साबित, व्हाई ही वाज द राइट चॉइस, और उसके बाद द डायलॉग बिटवीन हजरत जैद एंड हजरत अबू बकर. देन द क्राइटेरिया, द रूल्स सेट बाय हजरत जैद एंड द टीम एक्चुअली. So you will talk about that restrictions or the checks. Then the Quran being compiled in a booklet form or the scroll or a sahifa form, which is known as the booklet of Hazrat Hafsa रज़ियल्लाहु anha, or we call it Mus'haf al-Hafsa. वहाँ तक आपने डिस्कशन किया. उसके बाद we will move to Hazrat Umar's brief discussion. It was kept safe, secure, and then Hazrat Usman's caliphate. Problem क्या है जो majority students यहाँ पे mistake करते हैं, they mix up or sometimes they even ignore Hazrat Usman's caliphate stay. कुछ बच्चे तो पॉइंट्स को ऊपर नीचे ओवरलैप कर लेते हैं. कुछ बच्चे यहाँ लिखते हैं कि द इशू वाज देयर इन इराक एंड सीरिया. एक्चुअली दिस इज नॉट हैपनिंग इन इराक एंड सीरिया. इट इज द डायलेक्ट. इट्स इराकी एंड सीरियन डायलेक्ट जिसके ऊपर क्लैश था. एंड दिस इंसिडेंट टुक प्लेस इन आजरबाईजान और आर्मीनिया. इफ समवन राइट इन सेंट्रल एशियन स्टेट एरिया इवन इट इज फाइन. ये पार्ट कई बच्चों का इतना स्ट्रांग नहीं होता एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे आर नॉट एबल टू रीच 8 और 9 देयर. और यहाँ पे बहुत ब्रीफ लिख रहे होते हैं. और यहाँ पे आप अगर अपनी बुक भी रीड करते हैं यू विल फाइंड मोर डिटेल्स हेयर, क्योंकि इवन बुक भी यहाँ पे कुछ हद तक इस पार्ट के ऊपर ब्रीफ होती है. यू विल टॉक अबाउट द डायलेक्ट इशू, यू विल टॉक अबाउट विच एरिया, विच प्लेस, एंड यू विल ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट हाउ दिस इशू वॉज रेज्ड बाय द वे, who brought this issue to Hazrat Usman. इसमें Hazrat हुजैफा बिन यमान भी आप लिख सकते हैं. You can write Hazrat Anas bin Malik. Both are fine. अगर आप थोड़ा हायर लेवल पे जाएंगे तो एक सिटी से, एक रीजन से हजरत हुजैफा न्यूज़ लेके आए थे और एक से हजरत अनस. फिर what did they say to हजरत उस्मान, यहाँ पे मार्किंग स्कीम में नहीं है बट दैट इज एक्सपेक्टेड इन इट. और साथ में आपने वहाँ पे वो भी मेंशन करना है हजरत उस्मान ने किसकी ड्यूटी लगाई थी एंड व्हाट इंस्ट्रक्शंस वर गिवन टू ज़ैद बिन साबित एंड द टीम एंड व्हाट वाज द रोल ऑफ प्रेजेंस ऑफ द कुरैशी members in the team, because Hazrat Zaid bin Sabit was not from Quraysh, he belonged from Medina. So unka dialect Madani dialect tha, so therefore Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam appointed few Qurayshi companions and he gave some instructions to them. And what is the significance of Mus'haf al-Hafsa? Because that was the most authentic available scroll booklet at that time. And that then what did Hazrat Usman do after that, when you will talk about it and the title given to him. मेजॉरिटी स्टूडेंट्स के आंसर ये बहुत अच्छे होते हैं. असल जो फाइट होती है, जो बैटल होती है, दैट इज बिटवीन 7 to 9 marks.
Sir, I have a question.
Sorry.
Sir, weren't 7 copies made during the standardization of Quran?
Actually, that's fine because that's why I did not talk about that one, because you will find in some books 5, in some books you will find 7. That is fine. You can just mention he made more copies of Quran and distributed it in the various provinces. So that is fine. That is okay, acceptable, right? And what we need to know, we need to add the point that rest of the copies, which were according to other dialects, they were burned, and Hazrat Usman got the title. Someone may develop it, but that's not requirement. The meaning of the word Jami al-Quran means uniting the Muslims on one standard dialect here. Okay, that is the Cambridge Examiner report of this question paper. I will suggest you all, whenever you see a question in Cambridge paper, you might be thinking what additional like point is required in that answer. My teacher is not giving the marks. What is Cambridge expectation? So I will suggest you to go to the PERT. PERT stands for Principal Examiner report. For that is actually for the teachers actually, but that is available on internet. You just see the ER written over there, and for every year they, like for example, for May, June, they will publish it once. For October, November, they will publish it once. When you will open that examiner report, of course, you will see which year and which variant and which paper you are talking about. Right now, I'm talking about May, June, paper 1, Pakistani variant, which is 1, 2. So I can see the here. There are some general comments about that paper. The examiner tells that how we found the students' answers on all of these things, like what students did normally, what was the highest expectation of the Cambridge Examiner there. We are talking about question number 2. Apparently, it looks very brief here, but you can see some key points which examiner is looking to give you the highest score there. If you read this all, you will find out like majority of the students talked about Zaid bin Sabit and all of these things there. But the responses which were present, which presented finer details such as quotes from historical events, of this event, the references and all of these things, minute details. Can you see the minute details? You are not just going to like you are not going to rely on just basic information. Minute details like छोटी छोटी चीजें उसके अंदर जो बच्चा डेवलप कर रहा होता है of the compilation process, the names of important personalities. बाज बच्चे कहते हैं मैंने 3 नेम लिख दिए, हजरत अबू बकर, हजरत उमर, हजरत Usman even, or Zaid bin Sabit. No, we need more than that one. If there is any other personality like Hazrat Usman ke time pe Hazrat Uzaifa, Hazrat Anas bin Malik, or if you find some other names there, so that makes your answer go up. Similarly, the some facts and figures and sayings makes your answer go to the highest marks, of course, goes from 8, 9, and 10. So majority students reaches, and you can see the examiner themselves said that majority of the answer, there were several strong answers. जब आपको कहते हैं several strong answers, in which subject matter was thoroughly known and understood, ये आंसर मेजॉरिटी बच्चों का ऐसे ही होता है. तो अब सबको कैम्ब्रिज 10 out of 10 नहीं देगा, तो कैम्ब्रिज will be having a higher threshold or a criteria while deciding that one. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब इसके अंदर तो ऐसा मुश्किल नहीं था. यहाँ ये पार्ट भी जो मैं आपसे बता, सॉरी, हजरत उस्मान वाला मैंने आपको बताया. Some responses there was a lack of balance. They wrote a lot about Hazrat Abu Bakr, but many students either omitted it, they ignored it, or some students write like very less detail. That's the way why the examiner gives them lower grades there. This is what you can see how the students marks. अब एक बच्चा आके कहता है मैंने हजरत अबू बकर का perfect लिखा है तो मुझे 7 मिल जाने चाहिए. Sometimes examiner read your full answer. Of course they read full answer and then they grade you. Part B may be even, I will show you the part B wording actually, because when I was checking, even I found some very good answers. But students just looked at benefit of Quran in a written form. They just thought about writing in their minds. There are some other like expected points which could be written there. यहाँ पे कैम्ब्रिज ने ऑलरेडी आपको कुछ suggested points दिए हुए हैं. लेकिन अगर कोई स्टूडेंट कुछ लेटेस्ट वर्डिंग को या मेथडोलॉजी को अडॉप्ट करता है तो उसके ग्रेड ज्यादा सेफ होते हैं. यू कैन सी हेयर ये वाला पॉइंट जो है, स्पेशली द पीपल हु आर ब्लाइंड दीज डेज हैविंग कुरान इन रिटन फॉर्मेट, डोंट थिंक अबाउट रिटन फॉर्मेट इन वन वे. Written format with different font styles, written format with braille, like the people who are blind, they can also have access to Quran these days. Written format with translations, ये भी आप mind में रखें. So don't just think कि written format of Quran in just a Quran form. It could be with tafsir, it could be with translation. अगर आप इस aspect से जाएंगे, you will reach higher level, and that's why Cambridge suggested these points. Not only here, when you see the examiner report again, they have talked about this thing here. बल्कि उसने यहाँ पे एक word use किया हुआ है, diacritical marks. Can anyone tell me what's the meaning of the diacritical marks? This is diacritical marks word here. Anyone knows about that word? Okay, there are some Quranic scriptures these days which have like highlighted words where tajweed rules are also marked in it. So like the pronunciation, how to pronounce that word with thick sound or light sound or something. Tashdeed, like how do you, where to pause and where to connect and all of these things. So these are the things which students can write. कि जब आपके पास written में होगा तो you will know कि which sound has to be stressed more or where to stop, where not to stop. ये points examiner थोड़ा सा इसको appreciate करता है while checking it. Okay, that is something which I was talking about your. This will give you an idea like how much, like how many marks, apart from marks, whatever you get it, but at least you will know that you should be cautious and careful about there. You can see the lower answers point is also mentioned. Some answers responses were not able to grasp the question properly, and they talked about general significance of Quran. This is what happens by our most of the students. They just rely on the basic answer. ठीक है, Quran compile है, ये हुआ, and all of these things. They don't give you marks for that one. Okay. Moving to our today's discussion. Actually, that was the test which I gave you. So I just opened it to connect it with our discussion. So that is done there. Okay. Let's move to the topic which we were doing in the previous class, that was Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life in Makkah. And when we talked about Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life in Makkah, we discussed about like three, four topics we discussed in the previous class. We talked about birth till call to Prophet. Even we discussed about conditions of Arabia before Islam, then Prophet's life from birth to call to prophethood. Then we moved on to the first Wahi event, which is the part of biography, and it's also the part of history and importance of Quran. Then we moved to phases of preaching, and after phases of preaching, we talked about persecution and opposition topic. So persecution and opposition, of course, is of two types of questions are there. We discussed about them. Prophet ﷺ, how he was persecuted, and another question was how his followers got persecuted. We talked about that portion there. Then there is 10-mark question, which is never asked in CI exams till now, but I will suggest you to keep that question in mind. It was 4-mark question, and it is 4-mark question, by the way, okay, why Quraysh opposed Islam. But there is a feasibility if the Cambridge asks you write an account of why Quraysh opposed Islam by chance, so you will have a backup answer with details there, like religious reasons, moral reasons, and then social reasons, and political reasons, and economic reasons. There are the multiple reasons which led to Quraysh think about opposing Islam and rejecting it. Though some of the Quraysh members knew okay, whatever Prophet is saying is absolutely right, but due to their fear and some tribal issues, they did not accept it. Okay, that's a 4-mark question related to the same thing which used to be asked, and it still is being asked, by the way. लेकिन जो ऊपर मैंने आपको क्वेश्चन बताया, there is likeliness कि there is such type of question. It's not the only question which you can expect. You can expect some similar questions about other topics there. One of the very important topic when we prepare life of Holy Prophet in Makkah, that is migration to Abyssinia. Cambridge used some tricky words while asking this question. That's the only thing, because if you ask any student who has prepared Islamiyat for O levels to a basic level, even if you ask that student migration to Abyssinia, that student will be able to tell you at least level 2 or level 3 basic level answer without preparation there. So this is also among the questions where there is a tough competition in the answer. Like the students, most of the students, they write the basic level answer very easily. So the competition from 6 to 10 marks, by the way. That's
Do we have
yeah.
to give the long
Normally
questions?
competition goes on. Okay, so this is what we need to make sure okay, we make this answer perfect here. Okay, what is expected in it? You can see the background. Mostly students miss this background here. You need to write 3 points about that one. You have to write what happened actually which made the Muslims think about migration. Secondly, you can develop it, the death of Hazrat Sumayya, especially Hazrat Sumayya got martyred, the first woman to die for Islam. And then among the men, I will suggest you to write Hazrat Haris ibn Abi Hala, who was the relative of Hazrat Khadija Raziallahu anha. He got martyred actually. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam decided to allow the companions. And definitely we need a reference from Quran in which Prophet got permission from Allah to allow the people to migrate. So Prophet allowed the companions to migrate. And of course, why Abyssinia? Because of the kind king. You will talk about Najashi discussion is also required. That's the beginning paragraph. Second paragraph, you must be talking about, I was telling you, sorry, the wording which is changed. Cambridge, they used a wording which I have found many students got confused. What did the Cambridge do? They wrote a question, write an account of first migration of Islam to Abyssinia. When I gave this answer to students, majority of the students just spoke about the first batch. That is not first batch only. This is the full migration. Actually, there are two batches in it, but this question is talking about the full event of migration to Abyssinia. तो ये आपने ख्याल रखना है, ठीक है? कि first batch भी जाएगा, फिर second batch, whole event is going to be discussed in it. First batch, which year? How many people? You may find difference in the number of people. Don't worry. You can see the marking scheme, or if you want, you can just rely on the book. The figures, minor differences in the number of the men or the women is fine. It's not a big issue. Main people who were part of it, you can talk about Hazrat Usman, his wife Hazrat Ruqayya, and Hazrat Sauda. By the way, there was another Hazrat Usman who was the part of this journey. So you can write his name also, and he was the leader actually for this group. This group reached Abyssinia successfully, started settling there, and then the group came back. Examiner is expecting student will write why the first group came back. Because there was an incident in which Prophet ﷺ was preaching, he received the verses of Surah Najm and he recited it. It gave an impression on the people of Makkah. They made sajda. So the rumor spread in Abyssinia that all the leaders of Makkah accepted Islam. Due to this rumor, they started returning back. When they returned back, they found the rumor that that news was wrong. And of course, when they
तो
came
सूर्य
back,
नजम की आखिरी आयत इट्स आयत सजदा.
exactly. Yes, exactly. सूरह नजम की आयत आखिरी से वर्स है और उसमें there was an instruction first judu. If I will recite it, whoever will listen has to make sajda after that one also. So exactly you are right. तो सूरह नजम की जो लास्ट वर्स है उसको अल्लाह होली प्रॉफिट ने रिसाइट किया था और उसका इंस्ट्रक्शन ये था मेक सजदा फॉर अल्लाह. तो all the people they got so inspired they made sajda there. So yes, आप बिल्कुल वो वर्स लिख सकते हैं. और अगर आपको वर्स नहीं ट्रांसलेशन आती तो आप सूरह नजम का रेफरेंस भी बिल्कुल दे सकते हैं. गुड. Up when the people came back, the persecution increased more. So these companions who came back, they spoke good about the first experience. The Prophet ﷺ allowed another group. अब आपने next group को यहाँ पे explain करना है, and you will talk about the names of the Hazrat Jafar, who was the main leader, who was leading it, and you can, if you have more names, you can write the names of the key people who participated in that migration. Or Quraysh also sent a delegation. अगर आप लिखते हैं Quraysh delegation was sent, that's not done. आपने नाम लिखने Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Rabi'a. What did they do? And how did they speak to the Najashi in the court? Your next discussion that is Najashi's court. The many students think they are worried कि इतनी बड़ी speech याद करना. I personally say no need to memorize the whole speech of Hazrat Jafar. You can take the part of it if you want. You can make dots and write it because I know you cannot manage time if you write the speech of Hazrat Jafar there. Some students write the summary of it. Acceptable. Examiner wants to know how did Hazrat Jafar convinced Najashi in the court, by the way. So it will be good if you speak about some part of his speech there. And after that, when you move on further, Najashi's reaction. That is first discussion in Najashi's court. Najashi का reaction आपने यहाँ पे mention करना है और then Hazrat Jafar and Muslims returned back. Next day, Quraysh joined the court back again. And they told Najashi that Muslims deny Christianity also. तो फिर आपने वहाँ से उसको further develop करना है. And then you're going to talk about Najashi asked Hazrat Jafar to recite something about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam and his mother Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam. So Hazrat Jafar recited verses of Surah Najm, Surah Maryam again, Najashi's reaction and permission for the Muslim. ये एक बड़ा strong answer है. एंड आई पर्सनली थिंक देयर इज अ लाइकलीनेस इस क्वेश्चन की भी है कैम्ब्रिज के अंदर. अगर हम देखते हैं तो आपने इस क्वेश्चन को कोशिश करनी है. मेन जो आपका इसके अंदर जो चैलेंज होता है स्ट्रक्चरिंग योर आंसर एंड कीप गोइंग ऑन इन अ फ्लो. दैट इज व्हाट वी नीड टू मेक श्योर कि एग्जामिनर को एक सीक्वेंस में, क्योंकि एग्जामिनर जब चेक कर रहा होता है उसके माइंड में पॉइंट्स चल रहे होते हैं. दे आर कॉन्स्टेंटली क्लिकिंग इन द माइंड ऑफ द एग्जामिनर और एग्जामिनर जो है एक भी चीज जब मिस होती है तो वो क्लिक हो जाती है उसके माइंड में. तो ट्राई टू कीप योर आंसर स्ट्रक्चर्ड एंड सीक्वेंस एंड इट विल गिव अ गुड इंप्रेशन ऑन एग्जामिनर ऑल्सो. डेफिनेटली द मोर डेवलपमेंट एंड डिटेल्स यू विल ऐड, लाइक अभी बीच मेरे से पॉइंट ऐड किया, मेरे ख्याल में शहरियार ने ऐड किया था. अब एग्जामिनर के ऊपर वो एक इंप्रेशन डालता है कि यस स्टूडेंट ने आइडियली टाइमली उस चीज को क्या किया है, क्लिक किया है एग्जैक्ट जगह पे. अगर आपको रेफरेंस कहीं और बाद में ऐड करेंगे दैट विल नॉट क्रिएट दैट इंप्रेशन ऑन द एग्जामिनर. ओके, moving to that's a 4 mark question and even sometimes because this is also the Cambridge question, so I suggest the students to think about such questions. And if you struggle in such questions, there are two ways. Definitely the teacher, you can talk to the teacher, okay, what is a possible point here, but you are lucky you are having very alternative sources these days. Just copy the question from here, paste it on Google or chat GPT. So I know some students might be thinking कि वो गलत भी हो सकता है, but that gives you an idea and mostly the ideas are correct because they are the understanding of the student and each student has his or her own way to develop it. You might be saying yes we can compare, you might be saying no we cannot compare, then give reasons for that one. Okay, moving to the next 10-mark question. That's my handout is made like 2 3 years or 2 years back. I updated it every year, I update it. But this question which is here, it is social boycott was never asked alone as a 10-mark question till 2025, the last year. Cambridge gave a 10-mark question on social boycott alone as a 10 mark question. मैंने जो question लिखा हुआ उसमें visit to Taif और social boycott were asked together, so I chose that question. Visit to Taif was already asked alone as a 10 mark question, लेकिन social boycott कभी अकेले नहीं आया था until this time. So they gave this question in May, June 2025, very recent question hai, and it is about, you can say non-Pakistani variant है May, June 2025 का. आप ये question expect कर सकते हैं, आपके पेपर में भी आ सकता है. And there is a suggestion for the answer of this question. They have mentioned the detail about it, but I will suggest you, if you don't want to go to the marking scheme, even यहाँ पे भी मैंने 90% चीजें जो required हैं वो लिखी हुई हैं. What is expected in it? You need to talk about the cause, and cause के अंदर आप link करेंगे migration to Abyssinia का success, Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Hamza's conversion to Islam. They are the two things which made Quraysh very angry, and they decided to boycott Holy Prophet ﷺ. और उसके लिए वो पहले Holy Prophet ﷺ के अंकल के पास गए. Who was the Prophet's uncle? Hazrat Abu Talib, ठीक है? And he was the tribal leader, so Quraysh wanted कि Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam के uncle को convince किया जाए to stop Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's uncle को, like Prophet's uncle, when he noticed कि Quraysh are very serious now, so he spoke to Holy Prophet and asked him. He said something. He said, "Do not burden me for something which you and I cannot resist." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's reaction was there. Prophet ﷺ reacted. What did he say in reaction, by the way, which encouraged uncle? Hmm. Yes. Anyone?
सर वो मून वाली बात.
Exactly, correct. So Prophet ﷺ ने फिर उनको कहा कि if they put sun on my right hand and the moon on my left hand, even I will not stop. तो Prophet अब मैं देखें आपको आंसर को डेवलप करने की टेक्निक बता रहा हूँ कि आपने इसको बिगिन कहाँ से करना है. Previously my answer started from here, the boycott directly. Now as is a 10 mark question, तो आपने इसको cause पे लेके जाना है, background, और फिर Prophet और uncle के बीच में dialect, because Prophet's uncle was asked to isolate Holy Prophet ﷺ, but Prophet ﷺ's uncle is still supported Holy Prophet. When he saw the courage of Holy Prophet, he said, "My full support is with you." Up then Quraysh decided to boycott. Then you are going to talk about the boycott details, the main clauses of the boycott, where it was hung, and then after that, the challenges during the boycott, you will talk about it. Why I wrote the word gorge here? Because if you see, normally the books have mentioned social boycott or the boycott of Banu Hashim. और कैम्ब्रिज ने जो word use किया हुआ है वो है boycott of Shebe Abi Talib. So imagine if someone don't know the meaning of the word Shebe Abi Talib, because that student may have used a book where the word Sheb is not used. So Sheb in Arabic language means a gorge, or we can say the valley. The valley of Abu Talib or the gorge of Abu Talib, that is going to be, you should know these names. I used it in my answer, but sometimes you can see some books does not use that one. तो आपको in Arabic words से भी familiar होने की ज़रूरत है. What were the challenges inside the valley? You will talk about it, and then when you move on further, you will see who attended it, who joined Holy Prophet, and who was from the family but did not join. That was Abu Lahab. Actually, there is a Sahabi, one of the 10 blessed companions. Can anyone tell me the name of one of the 10 blessed companions who did not belong from Banu Hashim, but he stayed with Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi
Saad
wasallam?
bin Abi Waqas.
Excellent, excellent. Saad ibn Abi Waqas, he is the companion of Holy Prophet, among the earliest converts. He did not belong from this tribe, but he was with Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can also talk about Hazrat Khadija's role. Hazrat Khadija had one son from her previous husband. Hazrat Khadija's clan was not boycotted, by the way, but Hazrat Khadija remained there. Her one son, who was from different husband, previous husband, she used to send him. He used to buy the things from the Makkah on double cost, and he used to bring it back for the Muslims. So this is how Hazrat Khadija played a role. Even Hazrat Ali Razulullah anhu was sometimes asked, Prophet and his companions were allowed to leave only in the respected months. So 3 years they remained there in that situation, but in respected months they were allowed to go outside, but the rest of the time they have to suffer difficulties. You will talk about the challenges which they face, and then how did the agreement end. You will write it. Prophet made some multiple attempts to make it end by sending some of the leaders, but Prophet ﷺ was told by Allah that the whole agreement, which was the main criteria, is eaten by the termites. So you can talk about how did it end, and also write briefly about Amul Huzn, or the year of grief, in which Prophet ﷺ lost his two closest people, that's Hazrat Khadija and Hazrat Abu Talib. I wrote the year 617 till 619. That is fine. Cambridge has used a word 7th till 10th year of prophethood, which is same by the way. Okay, so 7th till 10th, it will be good to say 8th, 9th, and 10th. By the way, 7th till 10th is also fine. And the 10th year is the year of grief, by the way, in which Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam lost Hazrat Khadija and Hazrat Abu Talib. Okay, the next topic, which is sometimes asked connected together, but mostly it is asked alone, इसमें डिटेल थोड़ी कम है. तो जब भी आप विजिट टू टाइप का आंसर लिखते हैं, नोट लिखते हैं, Cambridge used to ask different types of question, but if it's just asking you about visit to Taif, so definitely your answer won't be more than like you can say quarter to 2 pages maximum, or 1.5 to 2 pages, not more than that one, because there is less detail in it. The main thing which you can use in it to expand your answer is Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's interaction with Hazrat Jibrail and the angel of the mountain and all of these things that could be discussed there. But again, the background, why did Prophet go to Taif? So you will connect it with the loss of tribal protection. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam lost his uncle Abu Talib, and it will be good if you mention that the new tribal chief, I have not mentioned here, after the death of Abu Talib, the new tribal chief was Abu Lahab, who was a bitterest enemy of Islam. So definitely Prophet ﷺ needed a tribal protection. And what he has to do, he has to either seek the protection within Makkah, or it will be okay if you go outside and find outside Makkah. The Prophet was thinking the two tribes of Taif, Banu Saqif and Banu Hawazin. They are good people. They might show a good support to Holy Prophet. They will accept Islam. So therefore, Prophet ﷺ decided to go to Taif. You can see the outline here, the background. Accompanied whom? That is Zayd bin Haris. You need to make sure the name is going to be written completely again here. Zayd bin Haris, the adopted son of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Meeting with leaders have to be explained. You need to write the three leaders' names. Actually, Taif city was mainly owned by these three people there. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spoke to them, and then there was a temple where one of the famous idol was there, Lat, which is the one of the famous like idol. They were worshippers worshipping that idol. Prophet preached about true teachings of Islam, Tawheed, so that our leaders did not like it. Prophet decided to talk and interact with the local people. The leaders did not allow Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Prophet kept trying and convincing them. And when the people thought that he is threat for like, these people, like Prophet is preaching something which is going to be difficulty for them, for the local people, and they will lose their business and all of these things because of idol worshipping. So they decided to
सर
force Holy Prophet. Yes, yes.
उनके लीडर के बेटे का नाम अब्दुल जलाल मसूद और हबीब था ना
ये तीनों लीडर्स यही हैं, हबीब, मसूद और अब्दे अल। यस एग्जैक्टली, ठीक है। तो वो आपने बिल्कुल मेंशन करना है। पहले हमने लिख दिए थे प्रॉफिट मेट द लीडर्स, तो वो काफी था। अब ये नेम जरूरी हो गए, तो आपने ये नेम भी लिखने। और मैं इससे हायर लेवल आंसर देख रहा होता हूँ, ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग। मैं जब बच्चों के पेपर चेक कर रहा था, पर्सनली अप्रिशिएटेड स्टूडेंट्स हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट द टेम्पल of one of the biggest idol. His name is Allah, जहाँ Prophet ﷺ tried to go and preach the people there. आप वो भी चीजें लिख सकते हैं, तो आपका आंसर ऑटोमेटिकली रेज करेगा और ऊपर की तरफ। अगर आता नहीं आता, डोंट वरी। And these leaders asked the young boys to force Holy Prophet Hazrat Zaid to leave. ये एग्जामिनर आपसे ये पार्ट लाजमी एक्सपेक्ट करेगा। फिर Prophet ﷺ and Hazrat Zaid's entry, Prophets took shelter in a garden or orchard. ये डिटेल आपने लाजमी मेंशन करनी है। Belong to whom, आपको ये पता होना चाहिए। अब ये टेंशन नहीं लेनी कि उतबा और शिबा ये सेम वही हैं जो बैटल ऑफ बदर में डेथ हुई थी, वो आपको टेंशन नहीं। तो दे आर द टू पीपल हु वर एक्चुअली polytheists who belong from Makkah, but they allowed Holy Prophet and Hazrat Zaid when they saw them in such a difficult situation, and they sent their guard. अच्छा, gardener वाला discussion आपने लाजमी mention करना है। Gardener was a Das who was actually the Christian, belonged from a place called Nineveh. Nineveh is actually the place from where Hazrat Yunus alayhi. I have used the word Jonah here. Jonah stands for Hazrat Yunus alayhi salam. You can write Yunus alayhi salam. और फिर वो जो slave था, he got inspired by Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Prophet told about him and all of these things. So he converted to Islam also. That is something which must be there in your answer. After that, you will also speak about in detail Hazrat Jibreel and Holy Prophets interaction विद एंजल ऑफ माउंटेन। अब ये वो पार्ट है जिसके ऊपर आप थोड़ा सा अपने आंसर को स्ट्रेच कर सकते हैं। व्हाट वाज द डायलॉग एंड डिस्कशन बिटवीन हजरत जिब्राइल एंड होली प्रॉफिट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, ठीक है। और उसके बाद जो प्रॉफिट का रिएक्शन एंड ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग, योर आंसर मस्ट डिस्कस अबाउट प्रॉफिट्स स्टे एट नखला एंड मीटिंग विद जिन। कुछ बच्चे यहाँ पे रेफरेंस लिखते हैं सूरह अहकाफ का, आप बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं। जिन दे एक्सेप्टेड इस्लाम, डिड दे ज्वाइन होली प्रॉफिट इन द प्रेयर, आप लिखना चाहें लिखें, नो नीड टू वरी, बट डू मेंशन प्रॉफिट मेट ग्रुप ऑफ जिन एट नखला। सूरह अहकाफ की वर्सेस हैं, उसकी ट्रांसलेशन आप लिखना चाहें तो लिख सकते हैं। ये डिटेल आप स्किप कर सकते हैं। प्रॉफिट्स अटेम्प्ट में सारे नाम नहीं लिखें, बट वन पर्सन फ्रॉम बनु नौफल ट्राइब, ये नाम इंपॉर्टेंट है, मुतिम बिन नदी। प्रॉफिट वापस मक्का जा रहे हैं, ही विल बी नीडिंग अ ट्राइबल प्रोटेक्शन, तो
he gave it.
प्रॉफिट, तो ही गेव द ट्राइबल प्रोटेक्शन टू होली प्रॉफिट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम। आपने ये मेंशन करना है, और द वे ही मेड होली प्रॉफिट रीच सेफली बैक टू मक्का, ये भी आप लिख सकते हैं। तो ये आंसर आपका एक थोड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग आंसर इंशाल्लाह हो जाएगा। आप और डिटेल्स भी ऐड कर सकते हैं इसके अंदर, ठीक है। 4 मार्क्स इजी है। और इसरा और महराज की मैं डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं आपको सजेस्ट करूंगा अगर आपको इसमें कोई डिफिकल्टी लगती है तो आप पूछ भी सकते हैं। आउटलाइन लाजमी देखें। ये जर्नी है इसरा। इसरा में बच्चे मिस्टेक क्या करते हैं, वो करते हैं 3 जगह जो प्रॉफिट ने रुकी हैं रास्ते में वो मिस कर देते हैं। तो यसरब विच इज तैयबा, और जो मदीना का ओल्ड नेम भी है। दूसरा जो माउंट ऑफ तूर जहां हजरत मूसा यूज टू स्पीक टू अल्लाह। एंड थर्ड बैतुल्लहम विच इज द बर्थ प्लेस ऑफ हजरत ईसा अलैहि सल्लम। प्रॉफिट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम जब मक्का से मस्जिद अल अक्सा जा रहे थे तो रास्ते में 3 जगह प्रॉफिट ने स्टॉप किया है। उन 3 जगहों के नाम नीचे यहाँ पे लिखे हुए हैं, ये आप मिस कर देते हैं बाज बच्चे, वो आपने लिखनी है। 2 रकात प्रॉफिट ने नमाज पढ़ी। बुराक को एक्सप्लेन करें। प्रॉफिट का हार्ट की जो क्लीनिंग हुई थी टू फिल इट विद डिवाइन लाइट, वो आप लाजमी मेंशन करें। ये मैं आपको जर्नी बता रहा हूँ प्रॉफिट की, मस्जिद अल हराम से मस्जिद अल अक्सा की। उस बीच के इवेंट्स आपको थोड़े से डेवलप करना है। द फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ इज अबाउट दैट नाइट, दो द 27th ऑफ रजब इज नॉट द ऑथेंटिक या कंफर्म नहीं है, लेकिन एज पर द बुक वी कैन मेंशन इट एज पर सम ऑफ द हिस्टोरियंस के द इंसिडेंट टुक प्लेस ऑन 27th of Rajab, and it took place a year before Prophet's migration, by the way. This is the detail of journey from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. ये सारा आपको यहाँ पे पॉइंट्स मिल जाएंगे, बुराक की डिस्क्रिप्शन आ जाएगी, 3 जगहों के स्टॉप्स आ जाएंगे। मस्जिद अल अक्सा में नमाज लीड करना वो भी आपने एक्सप्लेन करना है। एंड देन प्रॉफिट वाज सर्व विद वेसल्स। कुछ बुक्स में 2 वेसल्स हैं, कुछ में 3 वेसल्स हैं। अगर थर्ड वेसल आप ऐड करें, 2 में तो मिल्क और वाइन है, थर्ड अगर ऐड करें तो वो वाटर है। तो आपकी चॉइस है, अगर आपकी बुक में 3 है आप तीनों लिख सकते हैं। प्रॉफिट चोज मिल्क एंड व्हाट वाज एंजल जिब्राइल्स रिएक्शन, आपने वहां पे उसको लाजमी मेंशन करना है। देन दिस इज द सेकंड फेज ऑफ मेरा जर्नी, दैट इज मेराज, जमीन से आसमान की तरफ की जर्नी है। इसमें प्रॉफिट्स वार्म वेलकम, डिफरेंट प्रॉफिट्स के साथ मीटिंग याद रखनी है थोड़ी सी सीक्वेंस के अंदर, और हाउ ही वाज वेलकम्ड। सिदरतुल मुंतहा पे पहुंच के हजरत जिब्राइल स्टॉप्ड प्रॉफिट असेंशन, गिफ्ट फ्रॉम अल्लाह, 3 गिफ्ट्स यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट इट, 50 prayers later became 5, last 2 verses of Surah Baqarah, and Allah promised the forgiveness of the sins of this ummah except shirk. So this is what you need to mention in it. Then Prophet visited heaven and hell, and you will also talk about when he returned back, how was the situation, did the things change or they are different. So this is what you need to make sure. That's the biggest, like one of the answers which need a lot of डिटेल्स देयर। तो इस आंसर को कभी एग्जाम में अगर करना और दूसरी कोई चॉइस हो तो मैं सजेस्ट करूंगा आप इसके बजाय दूसरा क्वेश्चन चूज करें अगर आपको आता है। अगर नहीं आता, नो डाउट यू कैन गो विद इट, क्योंकि इसमें आप जितना भी लिखते हैं एग्जामिनर को कहीं ना कहीं कोई चीज मिसिंग नजर आती है। तो दैट्स इजी क्वेश्चन बट दैट्स टाइम कंज्यूमिंग, दैट्स टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम बाय द वे। तो यू नीड टू मेक श्योर आप इसके लिए टाइम को लाजमी मैनेज करें,
सर
ठीक है।
अगर
जी जी यस।
इसी क्वेश्चन को अटेम्प्ट करने में कोई 1-2 पॉइंट अगर मिस हो जाए तो फिर कितने मार्क्स मिलेंगे आउट ऑफ?
Depend करता है कि which point you missed and what type of thing is there, because honestly when we check this answer, even the student write the 3.5 answer, we have something in our mind we used to write also at that one. So that is the issue. But again, there are students who write it in 2 pages, even 2.5 pages, and they get even 10 out of 10 because they are smart to deal with how to structure the points there. So this is how they get the marks there. So again marks मिलते हैं, लेकिन थोड़ा सा आपके पास challenge होता है कि to manage time and detail. You know, I have not explained the visit to heaven and hell. Some students even talk about that one. तो वो भी लिखते हैं वो. तो आप imagine करें आंसर कहाँ जाएगा. तो यहाँ तक आज हम अपनी discussion